One, welcome all. 700 plus registered, I understand. Thank you. My name is Daniele, CEO at United Way Greater Toronto, with our IT and tech friends who have connected us all together virtually in the background, with Adriana, who will connect me with any questions that you send to webinars@uwgt.org, with you, our donors, volunteers, frontline agency staff, partners, some of our speakers' moms, I hear. Hi, Mom. Thank you all for joining, for connecting your resources of time, talent, treasure to those people, priorities, populations most in need in this place that we love. Connecting from the Latin words cum, together, and nectere, to bind, connectere, to bind together. Now, pre-COVID, connecting was pretty easy. A handshake, or my preference, a big Italian hug with a kiss on both sides of the cheeks. Today, as I take my daily COVID walk, people are doing, maybe you've noticed, the COVID dance. They see me coming down the sidewalk, they jump from the sidewalk onto the road, then back to the sidewalk, because sometimes we both end up in the middle of the road. Connecting in COVID. And when I finally get to the Humber River, where the Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat farmed, fished, hunted, I am grateful for the indigenous land that I stand on, for this place where Woodbridge connects to Black Creek, connects to Lake Ontario. I'm grateful all things, all of us are connected because we are better connected. And I can't help but think of Edith, strong, spirited, steel-willed Edith. I used to call her every year at the same time to thank her and her hubby for decades of donations to United Way. And then a few years back when I called, I could tell from her sandpaper voice that she was down. Her husband of 60 years had passed that frigid winter. In her 90s then, Edith was feeling really alone and isolated. She hadn't talked to anyone in months. I told her about one of our United Way seniors programs, a space blocks away from her place. She said in that voice, "I'll be fine. I'm better alone." And don't start to cry, Daniele, don't start. It was too late, I had already started. Months after the call, I showed up at that agency for a meeting. The place was buzzing. There was a Russian seniors choir practicing tunes in one room, congregate dining in the other. And on the piano, there was this familiar staccato I hadn't heard since Mrs. Quinn's grade 1 class. Da, da, da. Then this familiar voice. Your toe bones connected to your foot bone. Your foot bones connected to your heel bone. Seniors sitting, standing around the piano, singing along. So I make my way, and lo and behold, it's Edith tickling the ivories, belting out this song. At the end, when she gets to head, she gets up and gives me a big hug and says, "Okay, you were right." And she introduces me to 82-year-old Fred, my young, hot boyfriend, she calls him. Now, I never meant connected that way. Connected in COVID-19 never meant more to so many. Never missed more by so many. Starting with seniors. You've all seen that one picture of the senior in her nursing room, one hand on the window pane as her daughter stands outside. That one picture says it all. Our seniors ravaged. Today and every COVID day, seniors are the #1 group calling United Way founded and funded 211 for help. They're the priority population in need of support at community tables United Way is sharing in Toronto, York, and Peel. And thanks to you, your gift, United Way's network of 270 agencies is connecting supports and services in your neighborhood every day. And thanks to you, every year, United Way invests $2.5 million in programs that support our seniors. In this COVID crisis alone, we have offered our agencies flexible funding so they can work in new ways and put dollars where the need is greatest. And above and beyond our annual investment in senior services, to date, United Way has invested in 55 new projects that serve isolated seniors, all with donations from emergency funds that friends like you have helped us raise. Programs like Friendly Neighbors, a toll-free hotline in 180 languages, connecting low-income seniors in Toronto community housing with over 1,000 volunteers, picking up food and essentials. Now, they're averaging about 400 deliveries a day. Or Eden Food for Change in Peel, that's producing and packing close to 5,000 meals a week, including vegetarian and halal options, all being delivered to isolated seniors and people with disabilities in Mississauga. And as you will have heard already, United Way is administering the federal New Horizons for Seniors emergency funding. Here in Peel, Toronto, and York, over $850,000 will hit the ground in the next few weeks, supporting over 40 community programs like the Afghan Women's Organization for Refugees and Immigrants, or Sprint, offering meal, grocery delivery, and virtual daily wellness checks for our vulnerable seniors. For this next hour, we're going to talk about seniors, services, supports, struggles, successes too. We're going to bring you into the work that you make possible, featuring leaders from 3 United Way funded agencies. Christina Bezantz, CEO at Chats, Gail Gould, Executive Director at the Bernard Battelle Center, and Baldev Mutta, CEO at Punjabi Community Health Services. And as they each provide a behind-the-scenes look at what is happening on the ground, please send your questions through the chat box to webinars@uwgt.org. And then, as always, at about 3:30 or thereabouts, we'll start to take questions. Adriana will flow them to me from your emails. Let's get started with Christina Bezantz, CEO of Chats. Christina, thanks for joining us today, friend. Tell us, if you might, what a COVID day in the life of Chats looks like across York Region.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Daniele and United Way, for this opportunity to to come and talk about something that's obviously very, very dear to my heart, and you know, every day of the year is something that is an area that I'm very passionate about. But just a bit of background about CHATS. We serve about 8,500 older adults as well as their family caregivers, because I think in all of this, we also need to remember that there are family caregivers who are also being isolated with their loved ones and experiencing some stress and anxiety as a result of not being able to go out or have outside activities for their loved ones to be engaged in. But as an organization, CHAT serves 8,500 older adults throughout York Region and South Simcoe. And our objective is to provide the kinds of supports that enable seniors to live independently, safely, and most importantly with dignity on their own as long as possible, keeping them out of long-term care homes and hospital emergency rooms. So a day in COVID has been very challenging, because by the very nature of what we do, we're trying to prevent social isolation. And COVID obviously is the antithesis of that, because it's requiring social isolation and physical distancing. So it's been very challenging for our clients who look to CHATS to provide them with that opportunity to be engaged, to participate in wellness programs or diversity programs, to have access to transportation, to get them out to medical appointments or doing grocery shopping or banking or going to those social programs themselves. And yet here we are now, we're asking people, requiring people to stay home and unable to provide them with those social outlets. So as soon as the pandemic was declared and we got the guidance moving from, you know, the risk is not that great, just wash your hands and, you know, cover your mouth when you're coughing, to now anybody over the age of 70 needs to stay home, needs to isolate. It's been a very dramatic change for our clients and their caregivers and to us as an organization as well. So we had to pivot very quickly and to turn around and look at how we could take programs that were designed to socially engage people in a physical setting and do it differently. So to answer your question, what's a day in the life of a COVID pandemic? Every day has been different pretty much, because we've had to be nimble, we've had to respond, we've had to adjust as new directives and guidance comes available through public health. And through it all, sure that, as an example, we've turned very much to virtual engagement, using things like WhatsApp and FaceTime and Zoom, and putting yoga programs for our clients on YouTube, and looking at different ways that we could make sure that we continue to engage them and make them feel that there's still somebody out there who cares and cares enough to connect. You talked about connectivity, and that's very much what every day of COVID looks like. How can we continue to connect and make sure that our clients are well supported through this?
What are you seeing, Christina, as some of the main pressures that are emerging for seniors in York across that urban, suburban, and rural sprawl?
I think the most challenging thing for everybody is the sort of uncertainty. We don't know how much longer this is going to last. Gradually, we're hearing of opportunities to, you know, shop at landscape stores and garden stores and some retail outlets being open, but we really have a lot of uncertainty about what this means, and uncertainty on behalf of the seniors as to when will it be safe for us to go out again. I think that that anxiety and that fear is something that has become even more exacerbated as time has gone on. We don't know how long this is going to last. We have clients asking us when they'll be able to come back to the programs, but we don't know. We don't have an answer for them. And we have other clients who are telling us that even when things go back to whatever the new normal will be, that they're still very fearful about being able to come out into the public and to be socially active again.
You've talked a little bit about pivot and being nimble. Maybe you could give us an example or two of how your staff, how your volunteers have responded in what you would say is an innovative way to meet the needs of COVID.
I think one example that that I could give is how, as soon as we had to recess or shut down some of our programs, our staff looked immediately to ways in which they can continue to connect with our clients. And I mentioned that we started a number of programs virtually, offering programs virtually. One of the programs, though, that I'm particularly proud of is when we had to shutter the adult day program, our staff came together and started pulling together activity packages that were designed with each individual client in mind in the day programs. So they had things like puzzles and coloring and just different activities and little letters and that sort of thing. And those activity packages were delivered to each of the clients in their homes. And it just made them feel that they were still thought about, that somebody was taking the time to keep them active, keep them busy. And as much as they missed the program and being able to come every day, they just felt that, at this time when they were so fearful of what was happening out there, that there really was still that connection, that thread linking them to the program and to the staff who are so creative in what they do and providing them with these activity kits. So we continue to do that, and the clients are looking forward. It's something new and different each week to get that activity package, and they just feel that somebody is still thinking of them and keeping them in mind.
Such basic and important elements of feeling someone still cares about you, someone's thinking about you. And I'm going to come back afterwards on this concept you've brought up about fear, because we talk so much about the need today, but we don't really wrestle. We haven't had time to wrestle with what are people thinking about and what apprehensions are they going to bring with them? Will they ever come back to programming in the pre-COVID days? So we'll come back and talk about that a bit, Christina. But maybe just to explore with Gail and the work you've been doing, Gail, at Bernard Battelle, a United Way partner for decades, and an agency that sits with United Way at one of our community tables in the city of Toronto. These tables that are bringing together different voices, different agencies, and different solutions to solve for seniors' challenges. Maybe, Gail, you could talk to us a bit about the work, and specifically about the work being done at these community tables to solve some of the seniors' issues.
First of all, thank you, Daniela, for your introduction and also for this opportunity to be on the webinar. I feel very privileged and honored to be part of this panel and the webinar. I wanted to say that I was initially contacted by Michelle Smith, who's one of the senior managers of strategic initiatives at United Way. Sometime it was the last week in March, who invited the Bernard Battelle Center on behalf of United Way and the City of Toronto to participate in the North York Community Cluster. And that's an initiative of both United Way and the city as a result of COVID-19. Now, Michelle, along with two of her other colleagues from the city, Craig Milson and Laurie Odell, act as the coordinators for the community coordination plan for the North York Cluster. Now, the North York Community Cluster, in my experience, has been an exceptionally effective model for agency collaboration and coordination. It has become a critical support in understanding the current landscape of services in North York and agencies and how we're individually responding and providing services during COVID-19. Our ability to share information on a regular basis during this time of immense uncertainty and change is absolutely critical. The cluster has been very successful in facilitating connections and collaborations amongst all the participating community organizations that have been sitting at our table and beyond. I think there's about 30 or more agencies and organizations that are part of the North York Community Cluster who participate on a regular basis. Initially, the cluster met on a daily basis. That was a lot of meeting and a lot of wonderful discussion, and now we've moved to twice weekly. Each week, the community coordination coordinators, being Michelle, Craig, and Laurie, focus the first call of the week on the here and the now. What is going on in the community, what is going on in the agencies, and then on the second call, we start talking about more strategic kind of conversations. This morning we had a call and we were talking about when will we know to open up? What kind of decision making, what kind of framework are we using to make that decision? We may be told by the province that it's okay to open our doors, but will our seniors be coming back given their fears, given their concerns? Some of the critical issues for the Bernard Battelle Centre discussed at the cluster table have really enhanced our services and has been the discussion on vulnerable populations, particularly seniors who are food insecure and unable to physically access healthy, nutritious food. Now, though through the community cluster, we were able to access information from other community agencies. We're able to post it on our website and then share it with our seniors through our daily telephone check-in calls. Now, we've made over 4,000 community phone calls over the last 7 weeks to people who may in fact need access to food and other essential services. I think that COVID-19 has really exposed the inequities in our community. We're the most vulnerable. Our seniors are least able to navigate and survive the pandemic. Seniors in all of our communities are vulnerable. I think another example of sharing information and generosity of resources regarding volunteers, either staff volunteers or community volunteers that are available to deliver Meals on Wheels. Now, the Bernard Battelle Centre is an essential service. We deliver well over 1,000 meals a week, and that number is growing every day to seniors in the community. And when many of our regular community volunteers stop volunteering because of their own vulnerability due to their age, those of us that are CAA members found out that drivers from CAA were available to deliver Meals on Wheels. This has been a tremendous resource in corporate sponsorship and partnership. Due to our positive experience with CAA, we were able to share this vital information and rich resource with other agencies at the cluster table. We've been able to talk at the cluster tables about the decline in our seniors' mental health, the impact of hearing that on all of our staff, the lack of IT and free access to internet, which will be discussed, I believe, at a federal level next week. Those are some of the issues that have had direct impact on the service and how we've actually been able to enhance our service at the Bernard Battelle Centre.
Gail, what a snapshot really from tip to tail of how an organization as anchored as Bernard Battelle is in the community, in senior support, has benefited from these cluster tables and the power of the connection, both with the city and with United Way. And that up and down real-time data and solution development is so critical to make sure that those that need it most are getting access to it. And it feels like not only has the table benefited from Bernard Battelle, but the Bernard Battelle organization has benefited from being part of that. And thank you for that amazing snapshot. I want to move west a little bit to Peel and chat with Baldev Mutta, CEO at Punjabi Community Health Services, has been doing important work in Peel for decades, particularly providing mental health services and supports to families and seniors, all with a lens on diversity. Baldev, talk to us a bit about the communities you're serving and the cultural context or realities that you're dealing with in Peel. Are you there, my friend? Baldev, you're talking and we can't hear you. Take off your mute. There we go.
Oh,
Good
okay.
Man.
Thank you very much, Danielle, and thank you to United Way for allowing me this opportunity to be able to talk to you and share some of the challenges within the South Asian community we are experiencing in Peel region. There are also some positives that we have learned, which I would be sharing with you, but there are also some challenges that we have. One of the biggest one with the senior population was how do we serve those seniors who have been abandoned by their families, who are living in basements and who are unable to come out of the basement for their grocery shopping, for whatever essentials that they need. So we immediately looked at our staff providing respite and services to them. So in terms of bringing them groceries, bringing them food hampers. We also ramped up our Langar on Wheels program. We provide 2 fresh cooked meals every day. So that has been doubled the capacity, and with recent funding from United Way, we have been even looking at increasing additional freshly cooked meals to seniors as well. One of the success stories that we have is that when we started our virtual Zoom sessions for seniors, the first session we only had 4 seniors. So we looked at how do we enhance our ability to provide virtual care to seniors. Will they be able to become technically savvy to be able to click on a link? To my surprise, that within the month of April, from 4, we have now 95 seniors joining us in the week on virtual sessions. And we are now anticipating that we will have over 150 every week logging into our wellness and how whatever else they need to be taking. One of the lessons learned was we asked them, well, how did you quickly learn Zoom and technology? They said, we taught each other. So that wasn't a very helping way of looking at it. It's not that we always rely that, okay, seniors can't do this. They were so ingenuitive and coming up with their own solutions, talking to each other and one teaching the another. And here, I think that by the end of this COVID, we may have a couple of hundred seniors joining Zoom sessions. We had even a couple of seniors from Punjab, India join us because they are stuck there and can't come back. So it's fascinating to see, while we are looking at all the struggles, there is also a way that seniors have this creativity that we may be able to look at it. We also are providing services to frail seniors. We have respite program. Our staff is going in. So we are actually providing in-home services as well. All the other services, mental health and addictions, settlement services, all those are virtually, but these are the services that we are continuing as well. We are also ramping up our, we will be starting on Monday, a PCHS telephone support line. This is another need that the community had identified. I was hearing a couple of radio programs where they were saying that we are having difficulty finding out what services are where. And so we looked at this need, and we will be starting this telephone support line from 9 to 5 initially, and if this works well, then it will be over the weekend as well. So these were the programs in terms of the other big need is that when we have seniors who are now at home and the caregivers are taking out, so there seems to be an additional support that the caregivers are needing, because now they are themselves burning out because the seniors are at home, and before the seniors would come to our programs, now they are at home. So we are looking at providing additional support to caregivers through a variety of means, through Zoom and through virtual care as well. So two things are important for us in Peel. One is, how do we keep on providing food to seniors, whether it's freshly cooked meat or whether it's just the groceries that they need. Those are very important to us so that nobody goes hungry. And the two is, how do we keep these seniors connected to each other? Mm-hmm. And those are the two things that we are working on and improving our ability to provide services as well.
Baldev, you've been a, might I say, a prophetic, preeminent voice in Peel, often identifying issues like domestic violence long before anyone dares articulate those publicly. Are you seeing anything today amongst seniors in the community that is worrying you today? Yes. And maybe for post-COVID?
Yeah, two things are, I think, worrying me. One is that there seems to be, from what I hear from the frontline staff, there seems to be enhanced family conflict. Which means that there seems to be a tension between parents and teenagers. The teenagers are wanting to go out and parents are worried they should not be going out. And due to those push and pull kind of tensions, that is leading to enhanced family conflicts. That's one bigger issue. And the second one that we are looking at is there are a lot of calls that we are receiving from women who are in caught up in this domestic violence situation, not being able to talk to us freely on the phone, and how do we provide services to them? Those are the two bigger issues that we are in the process of dealing with it. And what we have looked at is, how do we provide awareness and how do we provide education to the community around these issues? So what we have done is we have revamped our TV program. It's now 24/7. It's being launched. So at least 3 hours, 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the evening is dedicated to information, to conflict resolution, to mediation, to looking at how are some effective ways of solving some of the challenges that we are, because we are all stuck at home. So awareness raising and education has become a very important role. If people cannot contact us, we are looking at it. In Peel, we have also set up a table, and Catholic Family Services and many other organizations are coming together. How do we support men who may want to look for some resources to deal with their frustration, their anger, and their fear of losing the job and being a provider to the family. So we are also looking at, okay, how do we creatively work with men during this critical period? What are some of the techniques we can use? And so those are some innovative ways we are working in Peel as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that, Baldev. We've hit the 3:30-ish timeline, and so we've got questions coming in from Adriana. I've got a question for all of the panelists potentially. In today's Globe and Mail, Andre Picard suggests we should follow Quebec's lead and allow seniors to go outside and see family members. What do y'all think about that? Maybe we'll start with Christina. What do you think about that comment?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't seen the context in which he's prepared it, and whether he's suggesting that seniors living in nursing homes go out, or in retirement homes, or seniors who are living in independent homes. So I'm not really sure about that, but I think that, you know, I would take my guidance from those who are in a position of expertise. Our medical officer of health for the province, and Dr. Kurji locally, to you know, see what their recommendation is, whether they feel that there's sufficient flattening that would enable people to start thinking about going out, and what does that activity look like? I mean, are they still keeping physical distance, or you know, are they looking to join together with larger groups of family members? So I think that, you know, we still need very much to take our guidance from the experts, from the medical officers of health, provincially and regionally, and follow those guidelines and directives, because, you know, we want to make sure that people are safe at the end of the day. It's important to be able to ensure that we are addressing issues of loneliness, the isolation, making sure that needs are being met, particularly with respect to food security that folks talked about, making sure that there aren't incidents of domestic violence because of frustrations that people are experiencing in the homes, and need to have that outlet to get out. But yeah, my view and feeling is that we will still follow the guidance and directives that are coming from the public health experts on this.
Gail, Baldev, anything to add to that?
I have something. I think it's really important to also acknowledge the decline in mental health that many of our seniors are experiencing due to the extreme isolation. I think that with physical distancing, and I've heard this from numerous of our seniors and from our staff, visits with family members, with a senior who may be living in their own home on their porch with the family members at the curbside, okay? Going like the woman did, that famous picture that you made reference to before, going to, that's right up to the door. That sense, that connection, as you've referred to before, Daniele, is absolutely critical for the mental health. And so if we don't have it, I agree with Christina, it's important that we get those guidelines and from our government officials and from our ministries of health. But at the same time, we have to balance that. I think social and physical distancing, absolutely critical. But I think that there are ways of doing it.
Baldev?
I would suggest that in terms of the seniors' loneliness and isolation, I think that families can be creative in terms of reducing that loneliness and isolation through a variety of different means, through virtual and stuff. So I think that if we look at, so there are families where seniors are isolated while living with them. So it's a question of how do we reduce the isolation and loneliness from a point of view of human interaction. So human interaction can also be very physical, in person, but human interaction can be also distant wise. So a lot of new immigrants have their human interaction either on the phone or through virtual nowadays, through WhatsApp. So from my point of view, I think that isolation and loneliness cannot be reduced by simply saying, okay, we're going to allow seniors to go out, meet with their family members, and then perhaps it may be the right time. It may not be the right time. Only medical officers of health can decide. But from my viewpoint, I think it's the way the society has put aside our seniors away from the main dominant family and away from us is what bothers me. I think that we need to find a better way of communicating using their knowledge and their wisdom to enhance our well-being is what is much more at stake. And I think post-COVID, that's where as a society we should be looking at, because even now, before COVID, seniors were lonely and isolated. It's not just only through COVID they are lonely and isolated. I think as a society, we really need to look at it, how creative and how lively and how brilliant our seniors are. But as a society, we have just sort of said, okay, you are close to retirement age, go sit over there. Thank you very much. We will take care of you. I think that mindset has to change. And my take on it would be that, even though I haven't read the article, my take on would be, how do we reduce the loneliness and isolation post-COVID through interactions and better connections within the family and understanding that seniors have a wealth of knowledge to contribute?
There's a couple of questions that have come in triggered by your comments. One is there's been so much talk about a return to a new normal in the economy and a slow return of the economy. What do you imagine is a slow return to services? Are there policies, practices that are going to change as we get to a new normal post-COVID?
If I can just quickly make a comment, I think one of the biggest lessons that I have learned through COVID is we have underestimated the creativity of our seniors. Whether post-COVID allow us to reopen our services as before, or there may be social distance guidelines forever, or we may be having some, where we used to have 30 seniors, we can only have 6, really doesn't matter. But I think what I have learned is that seniors, given them the ability and the ability to find and problem solve, I think that they will come up with a better way of find a mechanism for us to stay connected to them. That's one. And the second thing for us is, how do we in a society like ours create conditions for the seniors to have a meaningful say in the development of the programs and the delivery of the programs, and a little bit less barriers from the ministry that, no, you can only do this. I think that would be a creative way of looking at how the services should change and how seniors should have a meaningful say as to what they want from the program. That would be my learning during this time.
Christine, Gail?
I think if I could also add that very much so, we want to make sure that we're engaging the person served in defining and developing and identifying not only needs, but also what interests them, what makes them feel engaged and makes them feel connected, and most importantly, what gives them that sort of quality of life and feeling of confidence and self-worth. So all of those things absolutely are important. But I think Baldev made another interesting point, and that's as I said, we've all had to adapt very quickly as organizations. We've had to respond to directives that were changing almost daily at the beginning of all of this. And I think we've proven that we can be very creative, very innovative, and nimble. And yes, we need to be responsible to our funders, to our donors. We need to be able to hit the marks that have been set for us. But I think the degree to which we know how to work directly with our clients, and we know how to be able to develop programs or change programs that are more responsive to what the clients are telling us they want and need, is an example of where I'm hoping that there'll be learning coming out of this, that we don't need to have such rigidity around funding and programs and trying to, check all of the boxes on eligibility when we're submitting proposals. Recognizing that we still need to be responsible for the funds and accountable for the funds. But I think, and I hope that what we've learned from this and the many examples of very innovative and creative collaborative initiatives that, we've reached out, as Gail was saying earlier, we're reaching out to our colleagues and our partner agencies to see, have you got this that can help? And we've got this that can help you. And, really making sure that we continue to nurture that and allow it to thrive post-COVID, I think is an important learning that would come out of this for me.
I think we've always known that our sector, by its sheer thriftiness and lack of dollars, has had to be nimble and innovative. But I couldn't agree more that COVID has accelerated that. It's opened lines of coordination and collaboration that we've never had before. We at United Way see, even when we've opened up the flexibility of our dollars and said to you as experts on the ground, do what you need, invest where you need, the results have been unbelievable and getting to those most vulnerable. And I think that freedom is something that we need to champion with other funders as well. And we need to empower not only our agencies to do that, but what I'm hearing from each of you is in turn empowering clients to say, what do I need out of a program? Gail, anything to add? Your mom keeps texting me questions that she wants you to answer, for goodness sake.
Well, I wanted to say, as Christina and Baldev have said, we need to be nimble. We've had to reinvent ourselves. The Bernard Battelle Center on a weekly basis traditionally offered 120 programs a week. This May, we're going to be offering 62 programs, and that's going to be done via Zoom, YouTube, Facebook Live. I mean, we have weekly sessions. We're started this week with teleconferencing through Senior Centers Without Walls with those individuals, because we know many of our newcomers. We have a very large Russian community. A third of our membership are Russian, who don't have access to either computers, but they have access certainly to telephones. And we're able to do 62 programs a week, plus concerts every Sunday or every other Sunday. We have local musicians who are donating their time and volunteering. So it is about connection, but we also have something, we engage seniors, we hear, we talk to them every single day. My staff are speaking to them and we're hearing what they want. We're responding to their needs. We have a members council at Battelle, which meets on a regular basis, who gives me feedback around programs, around our advertising, around what kinds of things are important to seniors. I know that for many senior centers, like I've been told, the Battelle Center is their home away from home. And this is what they're missing. They're missing that social connection, that interaction. Baldev, you said it well. It's not about the seeing necessarily the family. It's about seeing their Battelle family or their other senior center family members. It's about being together, and it's about an understanding, and that connection is absolutely critical.
It's a nice way to, I'm gonna ask you all, and so I'm gonna seed this with you now, to think about what's giving you hope as we move forward, seeds you've seen of hope in this world. But before that, a specific question from Newmarket, Christina, for you. Someone asking if you could share more about the referral process to access Meals on Wheels and the new shop drop for seniors. I don't know what that means exactly, but how might someone access that service from Chats?
Well, they can contact Chats at 905-713-6596, or go to Chat's website at chats.on.ca and just click on the link there, and that will take them to the process in which they can participate. The shop drop and deliver really is and again, an example of where we had to be quite innovative and nimble, because we were finding that as people were unable to go out to shop for groceries, they still needed somebody to do that. And so we identified this as the need and as an opportunity for Chats to fill, to actually go and pick up if the client has ordered online. Our program now is assisting those who don't know how to order online or maybe don't have access to internet to do so. We're helping them with that, and then we will go and pick up their order and then drop it on their front porch. So it's just another way of serving that need. But you know, there's a number of things like that we've all looked at having to implement and do to facilitate and make it easier for the seniors to be able to secure food or to have access to those other services.
Let's do a quick round the loop with each of you, 30 seconds if you can. What is giving you hope?
For me, Danielle, despite our political leaders not being able to find a common united front against COVID-19, I think people are helping each other. So the mutual aid in humanity is much more stronger ever that I have ever imagined it would be. Despite whatever differences there might be, people are still helping each other out in Canada and across the world as well.
Beautiful. We call it an uprising of care, my friend. Yeah. Christina.
I would echo the same thing. I mean, Chats has been absolutely blown away by the number of people coming forward to support, either through volunteering or through donations, calls all the time to find out how can they help, how can they support, and you know, new ideas coming forward all the time. And it really is uplifting to see the degree that people care and want to help and support.
Gail?
It's our seniors who give me hope. They're inspirational, they're resilient, they're determined, they have a vibrancy and a zest for life. We work with a lot of Holocaust survivors who went through years of being hidden. Many of them are experiencing trauma now as a result of the social isolation, but they're still determined to live. They're still determined to participate in our Zoom calls or in our Zoom programs. They're still determined to want to help and to get out into the community. They're resilient. There's that zest and that desire to connect with each other and to move on. And they feel they'll get beyond this. They have before, they'll do it again.
You three give me hope. You three freaks give me hope. Thank you for connecting us all to your work, for connecting seniors to the supports they need, for giving life to this network of 270 agencies that so many of the people on this webinar support day in and day out. Let me end, as we always do, with a note that I got this week from a longtime donor, maybe even with us today. Let me read it to you, my friends. Daniele, I have heard you speak many times. Stories of your zeal, frank, plastic covered couch, thermos of espresso, and S cookies too. I even have an S cookie here, my friends. All with the same end. We are better together. That the single best way to solve our social issues is not one program or agency, but a network of agencies connected in a united way. And then you always smile when you say that. See, I listen, but now I think I get it. I'm volunteering at a local agency, been dropping food off to a family for a few weeks. Dad died years ago. Mom was working 2 jobs, and even then, ends not meeting, not even close to meeting. 2 teens, son with severe mental health issues, a daughter doing everything she could to help. And the 3 of them crammed into 2 tiny rooms in a basement. This week, I left the bags at the back door and stood at a distance till she came. Asked her how she was. Mom lost both her jobs now. Son, so sad, has attempted suicide twice in April. Her daughter is struggling with school, worried about college in the fall. I asked her again, how are you? Stressing the you. Holding it together, she said. I connected to that hub. They call me every day to check how I am. They have online counseling for my son every day. I got a caregiver group at night with other parents. And they got my daughter a tutor to help with homework. And you come too. She thanked me. I feel connected, she said. And somehow that makes me feel a bit better. We are all better together, I told her, and smiled. I get it now, Daniele. I get it. Thank you, friends, for getting it. Community matters. Connection matters. Now more than ever. And I'm hoping our IT people are going to unmute you all now, my friends. And we're going to sing it out for Edith all together. Your toe bones connected to your foot bone. Your foot bones
connected to your thigh
heel
bone.
Heel
Heel bones connected to your
ankle
bone.
Your ankle bones connected to your leg bone.
Ankle bone connected to leg bone. Interesting.
Lovely.
This is great.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very
for
much.
what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Stay safe.